Hey, it's Trudy at Henna Happiness. But I'm not at Henna Happiness. I'm at my home and I'm now doing astrology readings from my house. So if you guys are interested in getting a reading, you're gonna have to we'll FaceTime or whatever from my house. Because I don't think it's really a good idea to sit. I have had so many walk-ins at the store and we used to just sit comfortably and discuss. But now I don't think it's such a good idea for the time being. So I've brought my astrology computer home and here's today's planets. I took a screenshot of today's planets, and I'd like to talk about that. Um, we're knee deep in 3 retrogrades right now, so it's a very hard time to move ahead, but it's a fabulous time to go back into things. So you could go back into your wardrobe, you could go back into things at work that you need to reorganize, you could go back into a million things, deal with old relationships, memories, this kind of thing. All this kind of happens for us in this retrograde time period. And it's sort of an in between tides, right? So it's like the tide came all the way up full, and now the retrogrades are like the tide going back out. And then when they start to move ahead, it is sort of like low tide because it's a big shift. And then we move ahead then as the tide goes in. So we're Saturn retrograde, Jupiter retrograde, and Venus retrograde right now. We're also dealing with something about Venus, because Venus is retrograding and it's going to be retrograding over backwards and into the rays of the sun. So this is where you can get burnt out in relationships, or money might take a funny turn, because the sun is heat and fire, and Venus is actually like a water element planet. So you get the sun burning out the water of Venus. Venus gets uncomfortable when it nears the sun. And so it's not only nearing the sun, it's retrograding the sun. This retrograde happened in 2016, like May and June 2016. It's a very stressful time for relationships. But then it was opposite Saturn. So we don't have Saturn opposition in this. It's just a good old fashioned Venus retrograde with the sun. So it's not too complicated. This is, you can see right now, this is Venus and the sun. I don't know if it helps if it's closer to focus. That's the story right now. So Venus is actually in its uh, appearance to us moving backwards right now towards the sun. So that's going to be happening as we get into, let's see. I wish I could show you the screen, but my technology's not there yet. So as we get towards 6-1, 6-2, 6-3, it's exact 6-4. It would have crossed over 6-5, 6-6, 6-7. We're kind of like out of the heat of it. Okay, so that's something to be noting about the next week coming up. And then we also have something called, um, Rahu, or the North Node, and that's hanging out with Mercury right now. It's just crossing over Mercury. If you're feeling mental angst or the wheels spinning in your head, you can't stop it, the crazies a little bit, then you're in the club that's sensitive to Mercury with this North Node. It might be pushing you to communicate, get a job done. It's got you click-clacking with all kinds of ideas, and it can be very good and very profitable if you apply it. But the negative aspects of it, because the North Node carries the shadow of the eclipses, so the negative aspects is that there could be mental strain, anxieties. You can get caught up in your head too much, so do earth grounding things, walk in the grass, hit yourself some water, even like bathe yourself so that you kind of reconnect. And for Mercury Rahu conjunction, and that's happening as we're speaking. As I'm here, it is. It's actually in Gemini too. There's Mercury in Gemini here, and Mercury in Gemini is in its best sign. It's at home. So it's very good and very clear thinking. Even though we're having 3 retrogrades right now, we're thinking very clearly. Okay, so logically, oh, we could think clearly and logically. It's such a relief. Okay, so what we're having here is Mercury exact Rahu, and you can see in my chart here. This is what I'm looking at. So we got Mercury at 6 degrees, and Rahu at 6 degrees, Mercury at 7. So we've already taken the exact hit like overnight. The worst anxiety happened overnight and yesterday. So if you were feeling like you were being electrified or had some sort of out of control angst, then congratulations, you made it through it. So it's going to lighten up as we get into this, next couple days. So by the 30th, it's moved away. They're not exact anymore. And you can see by, 6-1, 6-2, 6-3. I'm going to take a picture of 6-3. Because when we look at 6-3, which is June 3rd, you could see that Mercury and Rahu have moved away from one another, but Venus and the Sun are exactly on top of each other. So that's the day to watch out for, or those time periods. Sometimes you just feel like no one loves me because Venus is about love. Sometimes you feel like a lack of financial security. Often people that are born with this feel like they can never work out relationships and no one really cares about them. So these kind of issues could flare up in the next week. And then, it's also 6-3 is going to be the moon in Libra too. So it's going to be like the moon in a Venus ruled sign with a combust Venus sun. So like weirdness for money and relationships. And you might make up for it by shopping for things or trying to find something to fulfill yourself. Eating, because Taurus likes like food and wine and stuff like that. So I would just be, chilling out for that. But everything else is sort of status quo. We've got the Saturn, Jupiter, and Pluto all there in Capricorn still. Okay, and our next big transit's going to be Mercury's going to retrograde around the 15th, is it? So we're going to have 4 retrogrades by, the 17th. You might be feeling it around the 16th, 17th, 15th, 16th, 17th, because it usually takes a little time to come in. So then what we're going to have is 4 retrogrades. And we still have a retrograding debilitated Jupiter. Not very good for, I don't know, Jupiter is common sense sometimes to me too. So luckily we have a logical Mercury protecting us from that very not so good Jupiter. But when he backs up, that's another big thing. Jupiter is going to retrograde back into Sagittarius, its own sign, where it's like golden, Willy Wonka ticket for unexpected opportunities. So there you go. You get 3 retrogrades there. And then I click it on the 18th, and then we see all 4 retrogrades kick in by June 18th. So, what I like to do with these Mercury retrograde things is like you just prepare. Like, oh shit, Mercury's going to retrograde then. I better get these other things done with. But Mercury retrograde, again, retrogrades are just helpful if you don't look at them the wrong way. Like, oh, it's going to cause me to lose my keys and the car is going to break down. But they're helpful because they help you go back into things. You find stuff like hidden treasures and things like this that you thought you don't even remember that you forgot about. Okay, so I didn't mean to make a 9-minute video, but I think I just did. Have a great day, and we'll talk to you in the next upcoming weeks. Okay, we'll keep you posted. Good luck with the Venus retrograde. All the best. Bye.